Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Hello and welcome to this episode of A Satellite View. It is Tuesday, August 19th, 2025, in the space and time continuum. Those of you who usually tune in on Mondays, well, we had some snafus going on this week, but I think it turned out good because there's more news that has come out just in the last 2 days. Usually I record on Sunday. I did record on Sunday, but then there was a big snafu with disk space in the middle of editing. I wasn't feeling good about the show because I already had a bad day because we had electrical issues in our music recording studio, which is coupled up with this studio. Oh man, and we're in the middle of recording a record right now for Em and the Gems is the name of the band. It's Heidi Emmeline Muchmore. It's her band, and it's turning out really great. And the weekend was very scary because we had all these these technical problems going on. But I'm back. So, and it's Tuesday instead of Sunday. I'm going to get this sent to you as quick as possible. Of course, you already know that because you're listening to it now, right? But we are going to be talking about the difference between what American media is saying and actual reality. So some venting here, but also I want to inform you about some things that you definitely have not heard. And it has to do with a lot with the Russian-Ukrainian war, which is now starting to engulf a lot of things in the world. All the puzzle pieces are falling in place as to what I think is going to be occurring in the next coming days, weeks, and months. We have Donald Trump still trying to distract. Now, I think he's trying to distract in his mind from the Epstein Files. By the way, you may not have heard that Bill Barr, the former Attorney General, he was the Attorney General under Trump, the last Attorney General under Trump. He's the one who was residing over the DOJ when they were responsible for the safe being of Jeffrey Epstein, and he died. Now, of course, you and I know, deep down inside, they say it was a suicide. Really? Bill Barr testified yesterday behind closed doors. He gave a deposition to the House Oversight Committee. Now, it's probably not going to be very fruitful because the Republicans aren't subpoenaing the people who know the most. Acosta was the guy who let Jeffrey Epstein off in 2008, and then Trump rewarded him by making him Commerce Secretary or some BS. Trying to distract back then, trying to make sure, hey, man, you're not going to talk, right? I'll hire you onto the cabinet. That's what mobsters do. That's what Putin does. Trump has been working for Putin since the 70s. So the Epstein Files are not going away. The Republicans, James Comer, it's not my fault. James Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, he's trying to make it look like, hey, it's not my fault. I tried to subpoena. It's not my fault. The people I subpoenaed didn't know anything. It's not my fault Bill Clinton didn't have sex with any young girls and only Trump did. That's not my fault. Anyway, he's trying to make it look like they're looking into it and they're trying to be completely transparent when we know they're not. Like I said, Bill Barr, it's not my fault Bill Barr didn't know anything. Bill Barr was purposefully kept out of the loop by the prosecutor back in 2019 when Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, because they thought Bill Barr would throw wrenches in it, because Bill Barr was working for Trump. He wasn't working for the United States people. He was working for Trump. Same as Pam Bondi is now. And by the way, speaking of another thing you may not have heard of, the Missouri Attorney General, we don't care about names, right? I really don't care what this guy's name is. But the Attorney General for Missouri, blood red state, he was just tapped to serve as co-deputy director, in quotations. That doesn't happen. Of the FBI, you don't have co-deputy directors. The deputy director is the highest ranking FBI agent. And that means he started as the very low bottom of the totem pole sort of agent and worked his way up. That's what all deputy directors have been in the past. Except for Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino was just a idiotic, beefed up so that, and, wearing t-shirts that are too small for him so his arms look all fat, podcaster. Far right-wing podcaster who had nothing good to say about the FBI until he became the deputy director of the FBI because of his credentials of being a right-wing podcaster. Dan Bongino, as we know, is the one who leaked the footage of the prison, which now we realize is, I'm not going to go into that. That's another hour-long story. But Dan Bongino also is very angry at Pam Bondi for how she's handling the Epstein Files right now. We all thought Dan Bongino was going to quit about 6 weeks ago when that exploded. And now they're pulling in a guy to step up and be co-deputy director with Dan Bongino. Yeah, they're going to get rid of Dan Bongino very soon. By the way, if you're watching this on video, because it's Tuesday and this is a working studio, I haven't had time to primp. My hair is not quite up to its usual par. But so I apologize for that. I'm not primped. I'm not primped for video today. And it's hot. It's hot here in Minnesota. But anyway, what is Dan Bongino going to do and say after he's ousted? Or is he maybe going to commit suicide? So Trump, now he tries to talk peace with Putin. I'm sure you have heard about how much of a BS, silly farce the whole meetings in Alaska were. Canceled press conferences. It was mostly canceled. These papers were found in the hotel that some American delegations stayed in. I don't know if they were accidentally left or if they were maybe purposefully left, because it sounds like there are a lot of people in the DOJ and the Pentagon who want to see this regime come down, and they are possibly blackmailing them. The whole Signalgate thing, it seems like maybe was purposefully leaked by some people working inside. Also, the whole thing that happened with Elon, supposed to be on that meeting to find out about plans for war with China, and that had to get canceled. Seems like there are some good guys, some white hats on the inside who are working actually for us the way they're supposed to be. In those papers that were left in the hotel, whether it be to frame the Trump administration or whether it was just an incredibly boneheaded and serious mistake of leaving some classified information in that those papers that were left in the hotel show that pretty much Russia was in charge of the optics of the whole Alaska thing. Trump thought he was in charge. He had some flyovers of some of our equipment, and Putin doesn't care about that. Putin is also trying to stay out of prison. He's trying to not get overthrown by his own people. He's killing oligarchs left and right. Oh, no, I shouldn't have said that. A lot of Russian oligarchs are just very clumsy when they get near windows on 14th or higher floors. That's what it really is. So they fall out of the windows. A lot of the rich oligarchs whose money is then absorbed by Putin. Oh, okay. So anyway, the car ride in Alaska. Nobody goes for a car ride alone with the President of the United States. You and I know that's where Putin said, "You'll give me what I need, or you think Pambandi has what's his accent? You'll think Pambandi has information, all the information of Epstein." That's not a good accent either. I don't know how to imitate him, but he's got compromat going back 45 years on Donald Trump. So then Zelensky, he gets invited, I guess, to the White House on Monday. Well, he calls up his actual friends, all of the European leaders, and I won't go through the list because you have heard some of this news. They come and they're basically just this side of saying, "No, Trump, everything you say is not what we want. What we want is a true security for Ukraine, a true security plan. Not what you're saying. We want a ceasefire." "Well, I broke up 6 wars already without any ceasefire, so I don't think we need a ceasefire." No, we're telling you, we need a ceasefire and we need a security plan. But they're saying it too nicely, so he doesn't understand. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. And he's telling him he broke up 6 wars when he did not. That's just such BS. It's in his own head. I'm sure his own people are just, face planting when he... Anyway, those are things that you have heard, and that's what he's trying to distract from. But what's ending up happening is it's implicating him further into being Putin's puppet, into being working for Putin instead of Ukraine, and instead of the European countries, and instead of the United States. Trump is working for Russia. It's becoming more and more clear. Apparently, Vladimir Putin called Trump during the meeting with the European leaders, and he left the room to take the phone call with his girlfriend. And then he said, "I didn't think it would be very nice to Putin to take the call there in the room with all the other leaders." He's on Putin's side, and it's becoming more and more clear to the people who didn't already realize, like you and I did, that he has been working for the Kremlin since the 70s. If you want to hear more about that, go back and look at some of the titles of this podcast. We go through a lot of detail. Krafnov that's Trump's name that the KGB gave him. Look that up. Here's something now unrelated to those things. Those things were Trump trying to distract, okay? And I'm going to go through one more thing that he tried to distract before we go into what's really happening, especially on the other side of the world. Here in the United States, last weekend, or just a few days ago, there were arrests made in Las Vegas by a child predator sting. So people were arrested for being child sex predators. They were faking things on the internet to then entrap these young children into showing up somewhere, and then these guys would have sex with them. It's horrible. It sounds gross. I hate to even say it. One of the people that was arrested is the Israeli executive director of Israel's National Cyber Directorate. His name is Tom Alexandrovich. There was also a pastor arrested, of course. There was another guy who has many aliases. That's not at all. These are like rich dudes, right? That guy, at least. A University of Nevada professor, a cop. All right, these These were some of the guys that were arrested in this child predator sting. Now, what happened with the Israeli executive director of Israel's National Cyber Directorate, Tom Alexandrovich, he got immediately sent back to Israel. Why? You give a call to Donald Trump, hey, you know, Netanyahu and I know everything about the Epstein Files, and you, even without the Epstein Files, you're not going to make me go through an American court system for this child predator sting, are you, Don? Or maybe he called Pam. I don't know, but he went back to Israel. He is not going to face any charges for being a child predator here in the United States. Compromat. The final thing that Donald Trump has done to try and distract, again, is going to explode in his face. I think it already is, but I think is going to even worse. We will talk about that and give you some breaking news. When we come back from a short break, you're listening to A Satellite View. We'll be right back. We're back on A Satellite View. If you like the music you hear here, go to toddmickelson.com, push the music button. Also, visit our website, satelliteviewpodcast.com. Sign up to be on our emailer. And find us on YouTube. Go to YouTube and search for Satellite View Podcast. You can find this show where my hair's not up to par. I'm not primped because it's a hot Tuesday instead of the normal scheduled recording on Sunday. But you can see this and other shows in their entirety on video on our YouTube. And you can also find me on Instagram at Todd Mickelson. Let's get back into this. This just in. Russia has stopped exporting gasoline. It has stopped its gasoline exports because Ukraine has depleted their fuel. Ukraine has been kicking Russia's ass very hard. Starting even in the last 2 weeks, it has escalated. I'll tell you more about what Ukraine is doing and where to find information about this after I tell you what the final distraction that Trump thinks is going to work, all right? And sadly, this is what the mainstream media, they take this up. So now they're talking about, oh, Donald Trump is going to do an executive order to stop mail-in ballots. Okay, that's an oldie. Putin reminds Trump, even though Russia is one of 34 countries that use mail-in ballots, Putin says mail-in ballots, they corrupt, you remember, they corrupt. Can't use them. You won in 2020 by big. So Trump is like, oh, that's right. We got to get rid of mail-in ballots. We got to get rid of these voting machines. And then he also talked about, if there's an emergency, we can call off elections. And so even as far as MSNBC, at least during the day, now Nicole Wallace, I heard a little bit of her. She was starting to go back to the Epstein Files. She reported about Bill Barr testifying. But before that, MSNBC was just biting on this, oh, he's going to get rid of mail-in ballots, even though he can't. They talked about that a little bit, that he can't. But Donald Trump is tuning in going, oh, good, MSNBC's talking about the fact that I have no ability to get rid of mail-in ballots, instead of talking about the Epstein Files, or instead of talking about what's really going on in the Ukraine-Russia war. We don't even know, are the distractions as bad? The distractions are so bad that, wow, I wonder what's in those Epstein Files, Donald. What did you do, Donnie? Not to mention, these guys are getting more and more scared of where this distraction is going to lead. This distraction is more pointing out to people that the Republicans cheat. That was started with the thing that's backfiring in their face right now in Texas about the gerrymandering. They already have it gerrymandered, but they want to gerrymander it even more. And the idiotic, whatever his name is, again, I don't care about these guys' names anymore. I don't even keep them straight in my head. The governor of Texas is saying, Trump said, we deserve 5 more seats. And then the governor of Texas says, because Gavin Newsom in California, who's doing a great job of trolling Trump, he says, well, we'll gerrymander. If you get 5 Republican seats, I'll get 5 more Democratic seats. And then Greg Abbott is his name, the governor of Texas. I'm almost disappointed that I remembered. He said, if California does it, they will lose in court. But here in Texas, we won't. So he's admitting it's all cheating. We're going to make sure California doesn't cheat, but we can cheat. That's basically what he's saying. And more Trump followers are going, why are the Republicans cheating? Why can't they win on the policies? And by the way, on the Thom Hartmann show today, he had a caller call in, some old white guy who lives in the panhandle of Florida. He's on the phone call, and he's one of these old white guys. He's like, I'm just one of those curious little fellers. I like to stick my nose where it shouldn't be, Tom. And so I asked a lot of my people I know down here, Trump people, and I said, so if Trump raped these little kids, and they go, that's fake news. And I go, okay, well, even if that, just say it's true that he raped these little kids, would you turn against him then? Then they said they would never turn against him, Tom, because Trump's their hero. Okay, he's talking about his 2 friends in the panhandle of Florida. This guy sounds like not somebody I would hang out with himself. And he's reporting into a national or, a highly syndicated radio show that, hey, these people are never going to turn against Trump. He's talking about his 2 friends in the reddest part of the country. And then Thom Hartmann goes, oh, I know. And he props it up even more. Some other guy calls in and says, this 3rd impeachment is going to show even more crimes. But he's still, and then they're like, well, yeah, we got to win the midterms. Okay, he's talking about calling off elections. They will say he's talking about canceling the presidential election, so we have to win in the midterm elections. What are you saying? If he calls off the presidential elections, he's going to call off the midterm elections. We just got to get him out. We're not going to impeach him. And by propping up the 2 idiots who would stick with Trump even if he is a child rapist in Florida on a highly syndicated national radio show, you make everyone feel like they'll say this, half of America is on Trump's side. That is such BS. You got to remember the percentage of Trump lifers is probably like 3% of Americans, but they're the loudest fuckers in the country. Do not listen to that crap. We are in the majority. I'm not going to be listening to corporate. I mean, I will to tell you why it's BS. I have to report on it, but it's worthless. Corporate news right now is worthless. MSNBC, and there's some good people in the nighttime, but in the daytime, it's basically worthless. Now, what's going to end up happening with him now saying this thing about mail-in votes, which Republicans vote, probably they use more mail-in votes than Democrats do because they have more old white idiots than the Democrats do. It's just going to point out that the Republicans need to cheat. They're trying to find every way possible to cheat. And that will open people's minds to accepting when the news soon comes out about what we've been talking about on this podcast for a long time. The vote count was changed in the 2024 election. Kamala Harris won the election. Donald Trump lost horribly, as we all predicted was going to happen, but then didn't happen. We know what happened. You remember the campaign seasons. I'm not going to repeat all that because for the rest of the time we're here, I'm going to talk to you about some pretty incredible news that for some reason is not being touched by American news media. As a matter of fact, Jason J. Smart, he is a reporter for the Kyiv, I can't remember the name of the paper, but he's a reporter in Kiev is how it's said, I believe, in Ukraine. He started this show on YouTube 2 months ago, and he's already got 201,000 subscriptions. He's also having people donate to buy drones for Ukraine. He does deep reporting about what's actually going on in Ukraine. There are others who do this deep reporting. You can go on YouTube and search for Jason J. Smart. Also search for Anna from Ukraine, ANNA from Ukraine. She's great. The Military Show on YouTube. Also RFU News. RF as in Frank, U News. They're all reporting, and some of it is overlap, but then some of them elaborate on even more. But the news that these four people or four entities are talking about, and they're growing in subscriptions on YouTube very quickly because people want to know the real news. And people know you can't get the real news here in the United States. Anna from Ukraine, just her video she put out last night, she said, and we thank the Americans for being against Donald Trump and being against Donald Trump meeting in Alaska. We know 99% of Americans are against Donald Trump and in favor of Ukraine. We thank you, American people. That's how the country feels about us. You can tell as the European leaders all came to be with Zelensky against Donald Trump at the White House. Donald Trump was too stupid to see it, but they knew the world would see it. Now, let's just go back in time a little bit to the beginning of this war in 2022, where Russia had, and the actual number is, they had 0.97% less land in Ukraine than they do now. That's how much they've gained in 3 years. 0.97% of Ukraine. All right? They have lost over 1 million soldiers for gaining only that much. They gained a lot in the first 3 weeks, but then they lost almost all of it. Now, back in 2022, the original idea Putin had was to have a private army, the Wagner Group. It looks like Wagner, W-A-G-N-E-R, Wagner Group, headed by some horrible guy, Prigozhin. He was the head of the Wagner Group. The plan was to give him $1 billion to have the Wagner Group go all the way into Kiev within 3 weeks. Now, that didn't happen, and Prigozhin took $40 million from the West and started a coup d'etat. He started marching the Wagner Group toward Moscow. You remember that? About a month into the war that Russia started in Ukraine, the Wagner Group was staging a coup d'etat against Putin. They were set back, and Prigozhin was assassinated. You remember that? In an airplane that went straight down like a bullet into the ground? So after that, Putin had to try and hire Chechnyan people from Chechnya, some soldiers who were not very well trained. They all got killed. And then he got some North Korean soldiers who didn't know what the hell was going on. They all got killed. Then he let people out of the Russian prisons and put uniforms on them and said, we let you out of prison. These were like killers and rapists, murderers. We let you out of prison. You put this uniform on and you go kill. You go into Ukraine. They all got killed. And now he doesn't have anyone left. Over 1 million soldiers got killed. Also, they cannot recruit. They're offering $150,000 to the family of a soldier that gets killed. They're offering $3,000 a month to be a soldier in Russia, which is a a massive amount more than any, normal Russian would make in a month. And still, nobody's taken them up on it because it's a death trap. They all know to sign up to be in the Russian military is a death warrant. They're closing down recruitment sites. They're burning through their money. They're right now going through their welfare funds, the last resort. They've lost like $64 billion since the war started. In the last 2 weeks, Ukraine has bombed the crap out of them enough that they have lost 20% of what they had at the time of their fuel. In Crimea, gas stations don't have any more gas. If you drive by, the prices are zero because there's no gas to be bought. And other places are running out of fuel. Again, at the beginning of this, I said they put a ban on exporting gasoline to any other country. Turkey is running out of fuel because they get most of their fuel from Russia. So Turkey's mad at Ukraine for blowing up refineries, blowing up pipelines, blowing up supply trains. Anna from Ukraine, where is it? She reports now what's going on. Of course, the drone hits have been extremely successful, going hundreds of miles into Russia. But now they're beginning production on Flamingo missiles. A Flamingo missile can fly 300 kilometers, which is the same as 1,864 miles, almost 2,000 miles into Russia at a speed of 590 miles per hour, makes it very hard to shoot down. It can deliver 2,200 pounds, that's more than 1 ton, of explosives on the tip of a Flamingo missile that Ukraine is now being able to produce. We know that Europe, 6 or 8 weeks ago, started to say we're going to support Ukraine with weapons. And about 2 to 4 weeks after that, Ukraine started kicking Russia's ass. And that's why Putin met with Trump. That's why Putin wants a peace deal. They tried to take over. I didn't write down all the names of the cities and towns because I don't know how to pronounce them, and you wouldn't know what they are anyway. But a very, very important town, city that Russia had a plan for the future of the war, and they almost took it over. They sent in guys to do sabotage. They blew up some bridges, but Ukraine was able to sneak these drones in and find these guys and kick them out. And within 2 weeks, Russians lost anywhere from 1,300 to 2,000 soldiers when Ukraine found them trying to take over this town, and they left the town. The Russians had to leave the town. And that was the biggest part of their plan. And at the same time, Ukraine was blowing up these supply trains and refineries and pipelines. Russia is almost completely out of fuel, which means no tanks, no trains, no supply chains. No airplanes. All right? No way to get supplies to the front line. The soldiers in the front line right now, the Russian soldiers, are wondering what the hell's going on. In Crimea, one of the main radars was taken out by Ukraine. One of the main radars which were giving warnings about these massive drone strikes that Ukraine has been doing for now about 6 weeks, just escalating these drone strikes. There are these wooden drones that are extremely cheap to make, that they fly in to find things, and then they send the drones in to blow it up. So Ukraine is being extremely resourceful and smart, very good intelligence, taking out very strategic pipelines and supply chains and trains, and the economy is decimated. Putin is offering bribes to these soldiers that he cannot afford to give. They're out of money, they're out of fuel. Putin has no support from his people, and he's getting worried that he will likely be assassinated from within the Kremlin. That's why if he's still alive, many of these people in Ukraine speculate that in Alaska, that was not Vladimir Putin. they feel sure that was not Vladimir Putin. And they know that he's got at least 3 body doubles at the moment. And they show photos of him. Their chins are all different, and it's crazy. But anyway, the Putin figure, or whatever, the Kremlin, they're the ones who are desperate for peace talks. Ukraine's like, why would we give you land when we're kicking your ass and kicking you out of the land that you've already taken? But you would never hear that listening to the news here in the United States. Here in the United States, Putin is kicking Ukraine's ass, and it needs to stop. The killing needs to stop. Ukraine's not killing civilians. They're blowing up refineries and pipelines and supply chains. They're blowing up strategic military targets. Putin's just lobbing bombs into baby carriages. I do not know why our media is not reporting on this Ukrainian news. I really don't know why. That's all the time we have. I think I got to everything I intended. I'm not sure. There was an awful lot. But last week was nothing but Trump trying to figure out ways to distract from the Epstein Files. He has kind of, but he's, hit a bunch of other hornets' nests that are seemingly as bad, but apparently we don't know how bad these Epstein Files are, and Trump is determined to do anything he can to make himself look really bad, but still to cover up however those Epstein Files are going to make him look. And I don't think he's going to be successful. People are already starting to talk about the Epstein Files. There's going to be on September 3rd, I believe, a press conference that both Republicans and Democratic House members are holding, and they have Epstein victims that are going to be speaking there. The Republicans keep talking about we need to protect the victims. The victims don't want protection anymore. They want justice. They're no longer 13-year-old rape victims. They are grown women who have not got justice, those of which have not committed suicide. They want justice. They want the files released. They're not afraid to have their names out there. The Republicans, James Comer, he's trying to look like he's, it's not my fault. He's trying to make it look like he's trying to get the files out, but it's a farce. The Republicans are going to help Trump cover this up. So again, go to Jason J. Smart, go to Anna from Ukraine, go to The Military Show, and go to RFU News on YouTube to find this Ukrainian news about what's going on in the Ukraine and Russia war. And while you're at it, you may as well go look at the voter files. Go to electiontruthalliance.org. Remember, there's hardly any of these people who are crazy enough to follow Trump through all this. They sound like there are more of them because they're loud and they're accentuated in our BS corporate-owned media here in this country. The vast majority of us want this guy taken down. The vast majority of us know that there's no way Donald Trump won that election. Let's all stick together and keep each other sane. Get out there, enjoy the summer. Get out and enjoy nature. Do things you love to do. Record a band in your music studio. Play your guitar, play your trombone, play your piano, play sports, whatever you love to do. Take the time to do it. And have some quiet time and go inside yourself and remember what you know. Remember what makes sense to you. Breathe. Concentrate on your breathing. We're getting through this. Yes, it's nasty. It has to get nasty to make these people who are going to be surprised, more than you and I are going to be, it has to get really nasty for them to be convinced of how horrible Trump and the Guardians of Pedophiles GOP party is. But we can weather it. We are weathering it. So let's stick together and stay strong for those people who are really being affected by this scary stuff. I forgot to talk about that he's also, he's arming the troops now in LA to try and distract, or in DC, to try and distract us from how horrible he will look when those Epstein Files come out. Thank you so much for sticking here with me. I will speak at you next week.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mickelson. Go to toddmickelson.com for links and more information.